Hello and welcome to the Slumbering Sloth Book Nook, a podcast about all things books, publishing and more. My name is Emma and today my guest is Aimee Dewar. Aimee is a freelancer specialising in design, publishing content, social media and marketing. Aimee is also the current co-chair for the Society of Young Publishers London branch. Now on with the show. Welcome Aimee, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Are you?
I am absolutely great. Thank you very much for coming on today.
No problem, it's good to be here.
Good stuff. Okay, so can you tell us about your current role?
Yep, sure. So at the moment I'm a freelancer in marketing and design for publishing. So authors, publishers, book techie companies as well, and agencies and like design companies, and also for small businesses. So I do work in visual arts and finance as well, within marketing and design. So mostly I do social media and digital marketing, like email campaigns, and a lot of book design and other marketing materials and things like that.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it's quite varied and good fun.
Good stuff. Okay. Well, that sounds really good, especially with the vast variety of different skills and of what you do and how many there's never a dull day, would you say?
Yeah, that's definitely true, for sure.
Good stuff. All right. So I know we're just sort of highlighting and talking a bit more about that. So what would you say your day-to-day activities would be within your role? I know you're talking a bit about your marketing experience and working with email campaigns and things like that and design, but what would you say are the varied things that you would definitely do sort of on a day-to-day basis? And I know varieties, but
yeah, but there are sort of things that do tend to happen every day. So I would say typically I start checking emails in the morning, looking over to see if any new briefs have come in from clients or if there's any new feedbacks out there from drafts or anything like that I've sent across from the previous day. So I normally would action them first and get back to a few people. And occasionally, if I've been to an event the night before, I might have picked up someone's business card, we might have had a chat. So if we've talked about work or if there's an opportunity there, I'll just follow up with a quick email to chat about potential collabs. And from there, I would normally go on to like social media duties. So scheduling content for the rest of the week, checking notifications on social channels that I manage, doing some engagement with some followers and tracking the stats of something. If I've sent out something for a campaign, I'll check how that's done from the previous day. And then a lot of the time it is design in the afternoon, because they're sort of, you can get stuck in and really focus for a few hours. That's a really good time to do that. So typically that's when I sort of do my design elements. So this might be creating graphics for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram for various campaigns. So it might be for a book or for an event or a product, or typesetting. So I do book typesetting and other printed materials. So catalogues, programs, adverts, things like that. Making ebooks, doing branding, or redesigning some websites. That kind of thing falls within the design part of the day. And then sort of along the way, sort of scattered through the day, doing invoices, writing project agreements, doing my accounts, having meetings with clients. So we do Skype, or I sometimes meet people based in London face-to-face. And if it's not that, I normally catch up with them on Slack, which is I don't know if you've used that before.
No.
It's like a messaging platform, excuse me, that lots of companies use for like instant messaging within departments or with clients, which is quite useful. Or I'll be sending pitches to prospective clients, asking if they need anything being done, and just keeping up to date with my social media as well, and doing self-promotion and adding stuff to my website. So lots going on, but that's sort of my day-to-day.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and plus also you do SYP as well for London. You're the co-chair.
Yes. So that's I try and like keep that to the evenings, but it's sometimes really easy to have that encroach a bit on my day-to-day sort of work, because number one, I really enjoy it and it's something that I really love doing, so I can't stop almost. And also a lot of it does come under what I like to do, engaging with publishing people, networking and talking with other people in the industry. But that's lots of emails and managing the team. We've got about 18, including me and my co-chair Kimberly, of us on the committee this year. So just keeping abreast of events we're organising and talking to people who want to collaborate with us or do competitions and things like that. So there's lots of that as well.
It's a busy schedule. Sounds like a very busy schedule. There's a lot going on. Time management must be key in this.
It wasn't one that I'd thought of immediately, of the skills that I've learned, but it's definitely true. I think I've always done, even when I was studying, it was something that I quite enjoyed, planning out when I was going to do all the things I had to get done. Really appealed to me. I did quite a lot of volunteering when I was studying as well. I think it did, and I started doing freelancing when I was studying my MA in publishing. So that came quite naturally to me, and I think that transferred over quite well. Now I'm full time, to how to plan out my time and when works best for me to do certain tasks. If you're a morning person or an evening person, or when you're most alert, and what jobs you need to do then and what jobs you can do when sort of the day's gone on. And just being aware when you want to start and stop sort of freelancing during the day. Obviously, there's no set hours. You can set your own hours, but I did find it quite useful, especially at the beginning, to set myself a start time and like an end time, because otherwise you just work way too much, because there's no one there's no employer going go home or like you don't have work colleagues who are all leaving to go to the pub to sort of encourage you to also leave. So I think you do have to set yourself some parameters as well.
It's discipline mostly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the thing people say to me the most is, I could never do that because I'm just not disciplined with my time. Like, I just get distracted to be on my phone all day or something like that. So it is a really important skill to sort of have.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, so what would you say the pros and cons of going freelance are? So obviously people might consider wanting to go freelance, and they're just saying, weighing up the pros and cons. What would you say are the pinnacles of that?
For me, one of the biggest pros is being flexible and the independence, and being able to create that schedule for myself. So I do find I hit a bit of a brick wall sort of early afternoon. So I sort of regroup and refocus during that time. So either I go for a walk, or I just get up from my desk and do something else, or focus on doing another activity, like something I'm doing on the side of work, or do some reading. So it's quite nice to have that time when you're maybe not as productive, to just make it worthwhile somewhere else. Because I find I don't really have a lunch break. I just sort of eat at my desk, which is probably not the best thing to do, but it's something that just works for me. And then I have a break later, and just working on stuff that I really love to work on. Obviously, there are other sides to it, so doing your tax and your accounts,
the fun stuff,
which probably are not as glamorous, and like doing invoices and stuff you're not getting paid for, you're just maintaining your business. But in between, there's that in every job, but all the projects and all the actual jobs that I'm getting asked and paid to do is stuff that I really love to do, which is just fantastic. It's really great to be able to choose what I say yes to. I'm still saying yes quite a lot because it's still early on, for me, that I've been doing this full time. But there's still an element of you are choosing what works for you, and if it's something you can't do or you don't have time to take on, you can refer it to someone else that you know. And I quite like that if you have like a side hustle to your freelancing, like SYP for me, it's something you can work in to your work day whenever you want to do it. Or if you're learning something like coding or anything like that, or you're training yourself up and learning new skills, you can incorporate that into your work day as part of your freelancing, which is quite nice. And just meeting new people as well, and just that sort of spark of joy that comes when you either get a dream client or you've landed your first sort of big publisher or something like that, or the project that you've wanted for ages and ages has like landed into your inbox, and that's just a great feeling. So they are the pros. I'm going to move on to the cons.
Well, with every pro must come a con.
I'm just going to caveat that I love it and I wouldn't change doing it, but there are quite a few things to consider. So one of the biggest ones is like the isolation of working from home. So I'm not in that stage where I can get a co-working space just yet, which is something that I would like to do. But I do go to the Foyles Cafe on Charing Cross Road quite an awful lot.
Yes.
Which is just nice to get out of the house.
It's always so busy in there with so many people doing the same thing.
There's never a sort of laptop, like there's always a laptop to be seen. And I do sort of meet up with people who I know who are either working from home that day, which is quite nice to get a bit of human contact. But for me, the biggest thing is being lonely sometimes, because a lot of my clients I speak to on email. Some of them we've never even met. So the lack of human contact does get to you. And also, sort of leading on from that, is there's no employer or team around you to sort of give you that little boost of confidence. Like if you're feeling you're not doing very well, or you don't feel like it's going right that day, because we all have those days, there's no one around you to be like, no, you're doing fine. Apart from obviously the lovely feedback you get from clients, that's amazing, but it's not as frequent as, you can't just turn to them and go, I really need like a pick-me-up. You have to sort of pep talk yourself, which if you're not feeling that particular day, it can be a little bit hard to do that. And also you don't get in-house training that a lot of people do get if they're in-house in publishing. And a lot of companies do pay for you to go to big conferences, like the bookseller ones, like Future Book, which are quite expensive to go to for a freelancer. So that can be a bit restricting. But there are good organisations out there like the SYP, plug, and Book Machine, who do offer like training or events for like more reasonable prices, which is quite nice. And possibly the biggest con for a lot of people is when you're first starting out, it's getting used to not having that steady flow of income that you would get from your permanent job. So I think that's something to always bear in mind. And I would say to people thinking about going is, don't necessarily give up your full or part-time job straight away, because you will miss that sort of cash injection every month. Because of the way projects come and go, you need to make sure you've got them sort of in and you're working on them, or that they're going to come in future. So it is a bit more unpredictable. And you do feel the pressure. I think a lot of the motivation does come from, I need to make money. So a lot of the motivation to do the work and to get the clients it comes from that, which is good and bad.
Yeah, of course. And especially when we were talking obviously the other day when we had a lunch together, didn't we? So we were talking a bit about, side projects and learning in your sort of time, sort of expanding your skills within freelancing. We talked a bit about the side summer project, didn't we, about coding and learning about coding and how that can sort of help, especially it's being more encouraged now within the publishing industry, that people go and learn coding, because you always have to stay one step ahead. Do you think that is an important aspect for freelancers that you always have to be one step ahead and learning the next skill?
Let me think. I think that is something that companies do possibly want to hire freelancers for, because it is that flexibility that they can offer beyond who you have in house. I think a lot of people in house are still really scared of doing coding. I was at a book machine event the other day, and it was sort of like, it was very encouraging, but it was very focused on, don't be afraid of like technology, you can do this as well, and you sort of have the skills to do it. So you're right, there is a big move towards the entire workforce, being more agile. I think freelancers can do that a lot more easily because they're always having to innovate new ways to get clients and how to be appealing, and have the skills that people want to hire in. So I definitely think there is an element of that for sure. And I think because of the nature of the work, that is something that you have to learn to do quite quickly, like not just necessarily following one really narrow path with a really niche set of skills, but learning bits and bobs that you can sort of apply to a project, because you're one person as well. Unless you do work as a team of freelancers, you do need to be quite, can't think of the word, not like multi-talented, but like you do need many strings to your bow.
Yeah.
So that does help, I think.
Oh, fair enough. Well, to be honest, you said you're always learning and you always have to be, supporting yourself, most importantly, because it's just you, isn't it, half the time?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, I know you sort of touched on it a bit earlier, but what would your advice be to first-time freelancers? I know we talked a bit about the pros and cons, but for anyone just wanting to start out, what would you say, like, the key advice would be?
I think it would be to have a plan before you do anything. I think you really need to think seriously about what you would be offering, who these people would be, and how you would start reaching out to those people. So is it going to be editorial services? Are these people going to be authors, or are they going to be publishers, or are they going to be both? And how to best reach and appeal to those people who might be seeking your services. So I would have a really good think and a really good brainstorm about all those elements of what you want your business to be. Because it's not just, they're hiring you, but you are sort of a brand in a way. So you need to think about what you'd be offering to them. And definitely really consider how your finances are going to work for at least the first year. So it is a good idea to at least stockpile some money behind your business when you first start, because there will be some expenses you need to pay out for straight away. So you might want to get your business cards and your website set up. And then you'll need to start planning for your first sort of tax bill, if you're earning enough for that first financial year. And as I said, it's just a good idea to, if you have a full or part-time job, to stay in that and have this as a side hustle for a while until you've got that freelancing momentum behind you.
Yeah.
And then you can, take the plunge and go full-time when you feel like that's a financially viable thing to do. Because it's a lot of pressure to begin with in terms of finances. So that's quite a sensible way of transitioning into freelancing. And I know a lot of employers at the moment are looking at, I don't know if anyone's actively doing this, but there's lots of talk of, the 4-day week, and there's more people working from home, and it's something that more and more people might start moving into, which is quite a good way of looking at doing it as well.
Yeah, of course.
And I think another really good piece of advice would be just linking up with other freelancers, either before you go freelance and just talking to them, or if you as soon as you take the plunge and go freelance, try and connect with some others just for that support and company and people who understand what you're going through as well. So me and my friend, who is a freelancer who's based down in Brighton, she's called Kathy. We've teamed up recently and we launched a network called Publishing Freelancers, which is at the moment just a Facebook group for other freelancers within the industry, and also people who are not actively freelancing but who are really interested in learning more. So we launched that back in March, and we've got a good group going. And at the moment, it's designed to be a support network, just somewhere to chat and even ask, do these prices sound right? Because that's really quite a difficult area of freelancing, is thinking, oh, I know what I'm going to do for people, but I don't know, I have no idea how much to charge. It's quite a difficult area, so that's quite a nice way of checking with other people, and just sharing resources and things like that. So it's quite early on still, but we've got quite a nice little group, and we're hoping to plan some networking events and possibly co-working days together, so we can just feel a little bit less alone day to day, really. So I think just making friends who are freelancing as well is a really nice way to just make you feel like you're on the right track.
Yeah, and also being a support for everybody else, especially if you need that morale, and you've always got someone patting you on the back going, you can do this, you've got this.
There's no, it's underrated how much that makes a difference in your work life and your career, like just having someone acknowledge that you're doing a good job, because it's really hard to do that yourself sometimes. So
yeah, it's like almost studying together, isn't it? When you've been uni or something, and you sort of like have your study buddy and you're like encouraging each other to get on, but if you're on your own, you sort of feel a bit isolated. You're like, I can't do this.
It's really difficult. Sometimes you're really good at talking yourself up and, going, oh, I did that and that went really well. But if you're sort of in a bit of a, just having a week or something, it's quite difficult to do that. So, yeah.
That sounds really good. It sounds like great idea to set up this community of freelancers. That sounds awesome. So, this is the final question that gets everybody. You probably have heard this before. What book have you read recently and you would like to recommend to people?
Luckily, I've had a bit of a think about this because you were kind enough to send me the question.
Thank goodness for that.
If this was on the spot, it would be a disaster. So, not the most recent book I've read, but one I read possibly 2 books ago. I read An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. He is an American author. This is his debut.
Okay.
He also does YouTube videos for the past 11 years or something. He's one of the YouTube veterans. But anyway, it just really, really, I just loved it. It just swept me away. So it was a story about a really perfectly imperfect protagonist as well. So they're sort of they've got a skewed point of view, and they're sort of an unreliable narrator, which is really good. But it's about their journey becoming famous on the internet. So it was a really interesting story about what it means to be a person on the social internet, so on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube or anything, and what fame means when you become famous through these channels, and what it means to be human as well. And it was just one of those books that I just stopped after reading it, and I had to really take it all in instead of just picking up the next book. It really made me stop and think, and a book's not done that in a long time. So that was really cool.
That's really good, because obviously he's the brother of John Green, isn't he? So he's had a couple of sort of big hits, which obviously, like Fault in Our Stars, or I can't remember. Oh goodness me, Paper Towns, and a lot of big books. And I guess that's awesome that they both now have got books out together, which is lovely.
So interesting to compare the two writing styles, because I really like John Green's books. They're right up my street. And then when I picked up this, I was like, oh my God, I like this even more. It was really, really interesting to see the comparison between the two.
Yeah.
As well. So yeah, I really recommend that one.
That's great to hear, and especially that, he's finally got himself a book out, which is lovely. So yes, it's awesome. All right, well, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
That's great. Well, good luck with everything, and I'll hopefully speak to you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
That's it for this week's episode. Thanks for listening. You can follow Aimee on Twitter at Aimee Dewar. If you'd like to be involved with the podcast, you can get in touch through Twitter at NovelM16 and use the hashtag Slothcast, or you can send me an email at slumberingSlothBookNook@gmail.com. You can always find the podcast on our YouTube channel, Slumbering Sloth Book Nook, or you can download it from Podbean for an on-the-go experience. See you next week. Bye!